Live from Lakewood, Colorado, broadcasting at the Colorado Media School studios, it's Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Jokic gives it back. Murray, shot clock to 9. Here's Murray off 1 foot. Oh, my goodness. From Jamal Murray, what a shot. In the clutch, off 1 foot.
Just walked off under his own power on third down. Locke looking end zone for Sutton. And the diving attempt. Did he get it? Touchdown! What a catch! The first NFL touchdown for Drew Lock, and his parents love it in Denver.
Check swing roller. Tulowitzki. Colorado's the National League champion.
And welcome in to this beautiful Tuesday night down here at the Belmar studio. We are Staxxx and Shaggy. This is at GoMileHigh.com, a part of the Be On Air network. And we're a sports-based show. But before we get into this, I want to kick it off to the headlines before we do any headlines. Now, we had to switch it off from Ron Burgundy. You know, you got to do something new every week, every day.
I like that. Hey, my bad for that malfunction right there. A little bit of dead air.
Oh, no, you guys are fine. We're in, learning in progress.
All day.
But so, first headline, and it's actually going on right now. The Rockies are starting their first scrimmage game tonight against the Rangers, and their first game being played in their new stadium, which is Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. And currently, the Rockies are up 5-0, and that is at the top of the second or third. Didn't get to see it right before we cut off the commercial, but yes, if you're loving some baseball, go and check that out in the next couple days because we're gonna be getting some sports going on. Speaking of, I think you have some news on the Nuggets, don't we?
Yes, we do indeed. So the Nuggets, they have their scrimmage coming up tomorrow. On Wednesday, they might be a little shorthanded though, only maybe 9 players. So we could be seeing a lot of Bobo in there. We have a little bit later than that going on for the next segment, talking about if Bobo gets some minutes or not. But, yeah, it looks like basketball's getting back to it in full swing. And, they're going to be back here within less than 10 days.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll be getting here, building our Inside the Huddle show going on at 3 to 4. So I'll actually be able to get, catch that game while I'm building that show.
Hey, man.
So I'll actually be watching some basketball while building a football show.
Now, for folks at home, will it be aired on Altitude? Or is it going to – I know maybe League Pass will have some kind of coverage.
Oh, I think it's probably going to be aired on Altitude. I mean, most likely for me, I'm going to be catching my game off an illegal stream off the internet.
Yeah, that's how you know.
Yeah.
The real ones do it. How the real ones get down.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited. So again, the game is at 1:30 tomorrow, and it is again inside the NBA bubble. So it won't be played at the Nuggets Stadium, or it won't be played at the Wizards Stadium. It will be played at the bubble. So, going into some hockey segments, Nathan MacKinnon was named as a finalist for the Lady Binge Memorial Trophy, when the other finalists were Leon Draisaitl, Nathan MacKinnon, and Artema. I can't butcher his last name. P.
Artemi.
I don't want to butcher his last name. We butcher a lot of names here on the Rush Hour.
We're going to call them by their first name. Artemi and Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate MacKinnon. We got his last name. As long as we got the local guy's last name is all.
Yeah, as long as we got the Colorado Avalanche last name, that's the thing that matters.
Oh, yeah. And with Nate MacKinnon, he has 93 points on the year through 69 games. 93 of those points, 58 of them are from assists, 35 are goals. Compared to the other guys, though, I don't know if Nate MacKinnon is a front runner. Leon.
What is the other guy's stats looking like?
Well, Leon from the Oilers, well, I don't want to butcher his last name. These hockey guys, crazy complex last names. But Leon from the Oilers has 110 points on the year compared to Nate MacKinnon's 93, and Artemi from the Rangers compared to his 95 points. Out of the 3 finalists, Nate MacKinnon has the least amount of points. I'm not taking that away from him. He is on a team that plays a lot of good team hockey. Artemi from the Rangers, he is accounted of 95 points, 32 goals, 63 assists. with the team, the Rangers, who only have 79 points on the year.
So we actually got a little bit of a correction. So he actually got nominated for the Hart Trophy, which is the MVP trophy, and that's the one that he is on with Leon and as well as Artema. So that's just like a little bit of a clarification. Thank you, Miles, our executive producer.
Yes, sir. Miles always getting it, always fact checking us with the facts, man. No, Nate McKinnon's had a phenomenal year, but to credit to what those other guys done, Leon, he's had 110 points, 17 more points than Nate McKinnon. That's 15 more points than Artemi from the Rangers. To be honest with you, Leon, I'm gonna attempt his last name. Leon Drizalti from the Oilers. I hope I got it right. Leon Drizalti, though, is my front runner for MVP. Nate McKinnon, you always love to hear it when the local guy of any of the 4 national sports is in the MVP conversations. But unfortunately, in this one, just like many before, I don't think that our guy's going to win it this year.
Yeah, I don't see a situation where he is going to either. I mean, we're all going to be pulling for him, but
and awards and accolades and season awards, they're like a popularity contest. Everyone's going to look at the numbers. And the Rockies, the Oilers do have a good squad too, but compared to the Rockies, the Avalanche, my bad, man. Compared to the Avalanche, the Oilers and the Avalanche are right up there. So I don't know, man. It's really gonna come down to it. But Leon Drizalti does have a more phenomenal edge than Nate McKinnon for sure. He's a much better playmaker. I mean, according to the numbers, with 67 assists compared to Nate McKinnon's 58 assists. And 8 more goals than McKinnon with 43 compared to his 35.
And speaking of winter sports, this is really cutting into high school winter sports, as in California and Texas sports reported to postpone fall sports to the spring. And my main question is, what does this mean for Colorado sports, and what does that mean for the domino for them, and what is it going to do for the winter sports, and what's it going to do for the spring sports? What's it going to do for the players being, recruited? What's it going to be doing for seniors that are on their last year? There's so many questions on this. I have so many questions. There's not enough answers either. It's a weird time, honestly. It's a weird time in high school sports.
It is, and you just gonna have to make the best of it. It goes back, to the last years. It's very unfortunate for kids not even to be able to celebrate graduation, the way they want to. These kids are not gonna be able to complete their junior years or whatever the way they wanted to, playing with their teams, with their some of these guys are not going to go to college. This is some of these guys' last time they'll ever see a football field or anything like that. What are some other fall sports?
I mean, you got cross country, you have soccer, you have swimming as well. Some teams have swimming. I mean, Erie didn't have swimming, but some people have swimming in there.
And this is just, like I said, some of these guys are not going to go to the collegiate level. And if they do, if they go to college, they might not be pursuing athletics when they get there. So this is honestly the last chance that a lot of these guys in their lives are going to ever experience any competition. And it's
and even then, if they don't go, because like you said, a lot of these athletes aren't going to go to college to play ball. So it's like for me, if this happened to me during my senior wrestling season, this would have devastated me. I mean, I would have loved to wrestle my whole wrestling season my senior year. That's like the main reason I stick throughout high school was because of wrestling. So I can only imagine how these athletes feel. I can only imagine how these athletes are thinking, especially these seniors. I mean, I'm going to relate it to a local level. My brother was supposed to have a play right before the COVID happened, and he never got to play that play. And they actually got to perform it in a controlled environment, but it's not the same. You want to perform it in front of your family, your friends. That's not, yeah. I can only imagine how these athletes feel.
Now, with this, could you see a change of them not really canceling fall sports, but postponing them? Maybe changing the football season to maybe a spring or maybe an early summer.
And I'm going to take it back to what I said a little bit earlier, and it's going to be cutting into winter sports. So if we're going to be doing it, in the spring and in the winter, I mean, it's going to be cutting into all these other sports teams, season. And some of these athletes, they're 3-sport athletes. I mean, some of these athletes play football, then they wrestle, and then they run track. Or some of them play football, then they play basketball, and then they run track. Or, there's,
Vice versa.
Yeah, it's, they're 3-star athletes. So that's going to cut into it. And at that point, you're going to have to pick, like, what do I want to do? Do I want to play basketball? Do I want to play football? Do I want to wrestle? Do I want to play tennis? Do I want to, you're going to really have to pick and choose now. And it's like, it shouldn't be that way. These, students should be able to get these opportunities no matter what.
Definitely going to be hard for the guys who, for the quarterback guys, I believe, who play a lot of baseball and football, of course. Now you have to choose between one. It's either, is it going to be football or is it going to be baseball? And baseball itself helps an athlete with their football game. But when you're not getting that experience, you're not getting that extra, that, I don't know how you say that. Baseball teaches a little bit more with throwing. And then when you're minusing that away, then, man, it's just going to be very, very detrimental.
Yeah, it's going to be. I just keep bringing it back. I'm like, I just want to see how these athletes are going to react, and not only that, but I just keep putting it up for the kids. I mean, there's so many seniors, juniors that are not going to be able to fulfill their dreams of playing in varsity football or being able to play varsity basketball because of this. It's taking a big toll. So we're going to be talking a little bit of NBA talk on the top of the commercials. Be right back with sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man! Live in the now!
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing!
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, from getting all this great experience working in college radio. It makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school, but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama. What? The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again. But I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Uppan Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
And welcome back into Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy on GoMileHigh.com, a part of the Be On Air network. And you can find us on Facebook at GoMileHigh.com, or you can find us on the internet at GoMileHigh.com, or you could check us out on Twitter and leave a great comment on how well we're doing at GoMileHigh on Twitter. Or you can give us a call and let us know how you're thinking at 303-937-6548. Or you can follow me at Jake_Shadler, or you could follow my man Staxxx at Amato is Ballin'. There's an underscore in there, but I'm going to let him tell you what it is.
Oh, you going to do me how I did you yesterday?
Exactly. I remember.
I forgot. I honestly did that unintentionally. I really didn't know where your underscore was.
I know. You're like, there's an underscore in there somewhere.
Yeah. Dang,
so where's that underscore for yours? That way I remember.
I got to pull up my Twitter. I think it's right after Amato.
All right.
Amato _ is balling.
So like we said at the end before we went into a little quick commercial break, we were going to get into some NBA talk, and we were going to be talking about, the bubble talk the next couple of days because, the NBA has a bubble, and, all the other sports seem like they're doing it more in their stadiums. They're doing it differently. They're definitely controlled in the NBA. So first, before we talk about the bubble, I want to first talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this was something that you sent me on Twitter a couple of hours ago, and it was about KG talking about buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kevin Garnett is talking about buying the Minnesota Timberwolves, the team that he used to play for and won an MVP for back in 2004. That would be insane. Wow. I know a couple years ago we saw P. Diddy almost buy the Carolina Panthers, I believe, and he also tried to buy.
That's not the same though. KG is Minnesota. There was a time and period where people only went to Minnesota Timberwolves games because Kevin Garnett was there. Name another player that played with Kevin Garnett.
That is true.
No, now there were some good guys, but could you think of someone who carries that name, that value of name around him the way KG does?
Didn't Chandler play with them back in the day, I think? Tyson Chandler?
No,
No, okay.
Tyson Chandler, he was drafted by the Bulls.
Okay, yeah, my bad. Okay. It was a different big guy I'm thinking about.
So, Latrell Sprewell, Stephon Marbury, Chauncey Billups before he was Chauncey Billups, played with KG for a little bit. They had Sam Cassell, a widely veteran. So pretty much as I'm saying, they had only Kevin Garnett. They didn't really have much of a second, go-to second, man. You know what I mean? And, that's why Kevin Garnett finished his career in Minnesota. When he got traded from Brooklyn back to Minnesota, it was not more of a thing of, let's try to find a good asset. No, let's treat this guy right. Let's give him what he deserves.
Let's give him the respect that he
home.
deserves. He deserves to retire as the team that he built up. It's the same way with Vic, retiring as a Falcon.
And he was so loyal to him for so many years, man, that it was hard for him to leave Boston, man. He wanted to just stay loyal and be a T-Wolf his whole career. But in reality, if you want to win a ring, playing in a market like that, you're not going to be competing for a ring year in and year out. You might be competing for one maybe every 5 years if you get lucky. But that's a market where you're not really going to get a lot of free agent attraction. You're going to have to do, maneuver some picks in the draft. And then when those guys' rookie contracts are up, do they want to stay, though?
No.
It's a numbers game, man.
That's true.
And it's the same way if guys you trade for a guy who had only 2 years left on the contract. He was 2 years left with the team that, he was with, that you traded with. And after that 2 years is up, then he leaves.
So, Ryan Blackburn for the Denver Stiffs and SB Nation site wrote an article today at 11:48 a.m., basically noon, stating the 5 thoughts on where the Nuggets are standing currently before their scrimmage. And the only reason I'm bringing this up and we're going to be discussing this is because we got a hold of Ryan, and Ryan's going to be joining our show soon, so a little sneak preview on that. But first thing on there was Bull is turning heads at practice. And I know as all us Nuggets fans know. That's the one thing that we've been wondering. It's between him or it's MPJ. Like, who's going to, like, arise as our next big star, or who's going to be our next big guy? Is it going to be MPJ or is it going to be Bol Bol? And seems like it's going to be Bol Bol.
It might be, but right now, I don't know. I don't know all about that, bro. I don't know if it's Bol Bol. I think of more of MPJ, but you know, I think what more of the question is who's going to be the number 2 guy on this team. I mean, everyone says Jamal, but who is actually going to be? You know, if Jamal goes down.
And speaking of Jamal, I think we have a little bit of a soundbite before we talk about the second little piece that we have going on here. If you want to click that real quick.
I tell you what, it's not the big fella, it's not the Joker, not the first-time All-Star. It's Jamal Murray, the guy that they gave a 5-year, $170 million deal to. He got to step up. This is why he get paid the big bucks. Look, we know that Jokic give you 20, 10, and 8, and he was overweight. Now here it is, he done lost almost 30, 40 pounds, and he looked good. I'm not worried about Jokic. I'm worried about Jamal Murray. Can he be that certified private? Is he capable of going averaging 30-plus points a game in a playoff series?
And thank you again, Kendrick Perkins, for that piece on Jamal Murray. So the second piece on here was Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic looked great at practice. Again, I'm not going to just automatically be like, oh, you know, it says it right there. He looks good. He's great. We're going to be fine. I want to see it in person. I want to see it in actual live games.
I just want to throw that to everyone that Jamal and Jokic both combined for the most assists between a duo in the league. Jamal and Murray. That is a malfunction on my part.
But they're a top 10 duo in the league. It just feels like Joker's carrying that
top
duo.
Top 10 duo? Are they?
I'd say they're a top 10 duo in the league.
Best duo in the league, probably AD and LeBron.
Let's shoot it to our executive producer, Miles. Let's see. Miles, is Joker and as well as Jamal Murray a top 10 duo in the league?
Ooh, top 10 duo in the league. You know, I'm gonna, right now without looking at the other guys, I'm gonna put them on the outside because of their defense. You know, you just don't see them. Those two guys are not stoppers.
So they're a liability on the defense.
I really believe that. Now they need help from a lot of other guys to be able to get some stops. And yeah, they can carry the load on offense. But and I know that's not a popular thing to say, but that is just half the game in the NBA. That still got to stop people.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
I mean, I'm more of a two-way guy. I love guys who play two sides of the ball. I'm not really big into guys who, I don't know, your Melos or your Jabari Parkers.
Currys.
I'm not big into those guys, man. And if you're gonna have a championship team, you need guys who can play defense. Now the Nuggets do play phenomenal team defense, but when you're caught up in an isolation situation, sound nice, isolation situation. But when you're caught up in that,
we got a rapper back here, Staxxx.
No, when you're caught up in that, when you catch a Jamal Murray guarding a James Harden one-on-one, we've already seen that result. So, you know, as I said, to be a championship team, you need to have some kind of defensive pedigree.
And speaking of James Harden, we're going to be playing against them most likely unless our seeding changes in the first round. So we're going to be most likely playing against a team that is very phenomenal at shooting the three. I mean, that's the one thing
that's what they emphasize. They saw that what the Warriors did a couple years ago, and it's pretty much what the NBA now is doing all around the league. You shoot as many threes as you can. 3 points is more than 2 points.
I mean, they surrounded Giannis with a bunch of shooters.
You know, the Warriors, they started the shoot 30 or 40 threes a game. The Houston Rockets just kind of set the trend to if you're gonna beat the champs, you got to beat them at their own kind of game, and they almost did before Chris Paul went down with that hamstring injury. And you know what could have been. It's a question of what could have been.
And speaking of the Bull stuff earlier, MPJ and Monte Morris may not be ready to go for the first game of the first scrimmage game. So could we see a situation where Bull gets some playing time and looks good, and we actually see him starting in the starting lineup in these next last eight games?
Oh, not in the starting lineup.
Not in the starting lineup, but in the lineup.
Nah, I just think they have more options. Right now with Bull is, yeah, he's a fun, exciting player, but they're going to hold him off just like they held MPJ off. Now, Bobo's on a much better track than MPJ. MPJ at this time of the year was still suiting up on the bench. I just think throwing Bobo in the fire right away when these are an 8-game stretch where you need these plays, and say Bobo doesn't make a play, you know, he misses a wide open bucket down the stretch what could have gave us a lead or something. You know, a shot that everyone misses. But then again, that could hurt his confidence just because of how big the moment is. I don't think it'd be smart to throw him right in the fire right away. And I'm more than likely that's what Mike Malone is leaning towards, is not throwing him in there right away. Now, if this was towards the end of the season, you know, we already had a playoff spot locked, we knew what we were doing, then, yeah, you play him a couple of games, see what he can do. But when you're trying to better your playoff position, I don't see a situation throwing him in there.
So then, like, that's going to add off into this. Bol or MPJ, like, who would you rather see out there right now? I mean, who would you rather see?
Just because you've already had the sample size of him. MPJ has a 20-point game under his belt. He's played MPJ.
He can play decent defense, too.
He's all right defense. That's not his strong suit, but it's.
No, he can still play somewhat defense.
He could play good team defense. You put him in the zone, and yeah, he could do a good
Amato
job
just
rotating.
loves his zone defense.
Rotating, you know. I mean, but that's what the Nuggets do, because the Nuggets don't have phenomenal individual defenders, but they're still rated as one of the highest defensive rated teams in the league. So that comes from team defense.
And speaking of team defense, and these are players that actually just reported as of last week, Gary Harris and Torrey Craig will be playing important reinforcements in there, and they will be really, really key, you know, defenders, especially with Torrey Craig. I mean, he's one of our better perimeter defenders.
Yeah, man, and I wouldn't say much of a hot take, but I would say more of a well, let's just get right to it. I'd say more of, I think Torrey Craig would be starting more games down the 8-game stretch instead of Gary Harris. I think Torrey Craig's more of a solution, a better solution than Gary Harris. Gary Harris has been very inefficient. Now, he could lock down, but I think if you're going to have Gary Harris out there just because he could lock down, I'd rather put Torrey Craig out there because Torrey Craig is a much better perimeter defender.
And not only that, but I'd rather have, it's sad to say this, but I'd rather have the corner three-pointer from Torrey Craig than Gary Harris, honestly. But we're going to be getting into a real quick commercial break, and on the top of the commercial break, we'll be talking about some NFL football, something that we all love. This is Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Cool. Okay.
So I had the thing in the middle there, and I forgot to
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, you know? From getting all this great experience working in college radio, it makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, you know, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama. You know, the Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking, really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again, but I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com, so I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Uppan Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
And welcome back to Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy. And we are going to be getting into some NFL talk. But before we get into some NFL talk, let me give you a real quick update on the Rockies. They are up 5-1 on the top of the 8th. It looks like we're doing pretty good. I mean, our man Miles is not happy, but we're all happy here in Colorado. So
yeah, I got some family in Texas right now not liking that scoreboard. I don't know if they're paying attention. I mean, all right, if you're a real sports fan, you're paying attention to this game, right? I think so. Come on, now.
If you're a real sports fan, you're watching this game.
You don't even gotta like
matter.
baseball. I don't even like the MLS. I'm not a big follower of it, and I've been watching it.
You don't like my Rapids?
I haven't been following it like crazy, but if it's on, it's like if I'm channel surfing. Oh, hey, it's actual live sports. It feels weird. It feels weird to have actual live sports, man.
So I'm going to be touching into something that we got into yesterday, and it's been flustering through media the last couple weeks, but it's about the NFL preseason, and it seems like they're going to be cutting off to where there will be no preseason games this year after a couple weeks ago retracting down to only 2 preseason games, which I know yesterday we already got into it. I don't agree with this at all. The 3rd preseason game is already known as a dress rehearsal game. I mean, everyone knows in the NFL that that's the game that you play as a regular season game and the preseason. It's the game that you want to see, how do our players start against them. I mean, the starters usually play up until the 3rd quarter in that game. It's just, it brought me to the thought process of what's going to happen for the first regular season game. Is it going to be basically a preseason game because all these players aren't conditioned? I mean, Miles, our executive producer, was saying, like, there's only one way to get into football shape, and that's to get hit, and that's to get hit at real live game time. If you're doing it in practice, you're going, 50, 60%? You're not going 100%. You're not trying to hurt anyone in practice like you do in the games. It's, I think that we're going to see a situation where players are going to be getting injured a lot on week 1. A lot of blown coverages are going to be seen, a lot of penalties. There's going to be a lot of things going on in week 1.
I think the big thing with it, how many more Phillip Lindsays are you going to see now? How many more Tony Romos are you going to see now?
Yeah, how many other undrafted players that came out of the woodworks?
Those guys with a chip on their shoulder.
Wes Welkers.
Underdogs, your Wes Welkers.
Julian Edelman's at the 7th round.
I was going to say, those guys who fall out, that chance for them, you've completely abolished away. Now, if someone sees some tape and they find out, oh, well, this guy didn't get drafted, then yeah, he could get picked up. But the preseason is the ultimate opportunity for a guy who thought maybe he'd be a late round draft pick, who thought he'd had some potential like Phillip Lindsay. Everyone thought he'd go drafted or something, No, he didn't. That's what the preseason was for.
26 running backs were invited to that combine, and he was not one of those 26 running backs.
Disappointing, man.
And Royce Freeman was one of those running backs, and now Royce Freeman's 3rd on that depth chart.
It's a funny business for sure. It's a what have you done for me lately now kind of business.
Oh,
man, I'm not a big fan of taking away the 2 preseason games. I want to see the diamonds in the rough. I want to see your hidden gems. Those guys who they're not your 1st or your 2nd or even your 3rd round picks, but they're guys who they look like bona fide starters, and they they didn't play at a highly touted school. Probably played in a Mountain West conference or whatnot. That's why they didn't get the recognition. But when they get on the NFL spotlight, they're able to, show the world what they missed out. And taking away the preseason is gonna have a lot. Is gonna take away that underdog aspect from the entertainment perspective.
Yeah, and speaking of undrafted players, their counterparts, first-round draft picks, 2 of them have signed recently, and that is Isaiah Simmons signing a $20.66 million contract with the Cardinals, and then the Broncos rival the Broncos rivaling team receiver Henry Ruggs signs a $16.7 million contract with the Raiders. That's insane. These rookie contracts are just getting so outlandishly the rookies the last 10 years ago compared to these rookies now. That's insane. The
contract
contract
has a lot
boost.
to do with inflation, though. As
salary cap raises up.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Like, you look at the cost of cigarettes in the last couple of years, and everything just goes up. Like, it just the pricing and all that. It looks nice. It looks nice on paper, but when you actually dive deep into it, it's really nothing more. I mean, what you could relate it to, I know a couple years ago, my buddy, he was excited they raised the minimum wage rate. He's like, oh, bro, minimum wage is, what was it, like 11 something? And he said, oh, they're going to raise it to 14. Like, hey, bro, that's still great. It's still minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
It's called minimum wage for a reason. That just means that the price of living has increased.
Mm-hmm.
And so with these contracts, this guy, he's getting paid the highest. I think it's the most overrated statement, because then there's going to be another guy in the next 2 or 3 years who's going to be the highest paid athlete.
And I like that analogy you really used there, because it's really perfect. I mean, because as it's, the NFL is a business. That's what it really is. I mean, when it comes down to it, these players are signing their, lives away to a contract to work for these teams / play for these teams. So and like you said, every year the salary cap raises. I mean, I think we're going to probably see a dip, and that could actually be a conversation for another day on what's going to happen with the coronavirus affecting the salary cap, and could we see teams backlashing at that, because the salary cap has been raising slowly and teams have been able to spend more money on these marquee players over the last couple of years. Could we see that take a dip in these next couple of years with this with funding going down and teams losing money?
Well, what's the next couple of years? You talking 2020 season, 2021? Or are you talking into 2024?
I'm going into 2024. I'm thinking 4 to 5 years ahead. How is this going to affect it in the next 4 to 5 years? How are we going to be looking at the NFL differently?
I honestly think after the coronavirus, everything's up. I think it will get back to normal, and everything will probably be booming better than it ever has before, because now you giving people the freedom that they haven't had. They haven't been able to go to a football game. So some of those stadiums that, like a Jaguars stadium that never gets sold out, those games could be getting sold out.
So you're saying that this coronavirus actually could be a helpful thing in the long run, saying that fans would actually start going to games because they're afforded this luxury that they were taken away for so long.
I wouldn't say it'd be a great thing. I say to even out, because right now you're losing dollars for a whole season. Like, people are not going to show up, but it'll even it out, because like I said, those teams who don't get that fanfare, that don't get that capacity, filled, like Jaguars or Redskins, bringing back sports and bringing back the accessibility for people to actually go to games will, get that money and that revenue back. And as I said, even everything back out.
And I think I could talk for everyone here. If a Broncos game said that we can go there, I think we're all going to that Broncos game. Or if a Cowboys game said, hey, they're having fans here, even at 20% capacity, we want to go to that game. Seeing our executive producer over here, Miles, smile at that.
Oh man, you want to tailgate? There's a lot of marketing.
That's actually a good thing that you just brought up, tailgating. What's going to happen with tailgating going on?
There's a marketing opportunity in that, because people are going to want to be as close to the game as they want to be as close to the game as possible.
But are they going to be able to tailgate still? Because they have to practice social distancing, and are they going to be able to do it with their 6 to 10 group? Because 6 feet away, and you're only supposed to be in a group of at least 10 or less. So how are they going to do that? Because when you go tailgating, I mean, I don't know if you've gone, but when I go to the Broncos games with my parents, it's it's pretty fun. You get there early in the morning, you get there with a couple friends and family.
I grew up right there in Sun Valley. The Sun Valley. Right there, right behind the rec center on Decatur, the Sun Valley Projects, and it's about 4 or 5 blocks away from it used to be Sports Authority Field. And every Sunday we'd wake up early, maybe like 6, 7, and we would see everyone out there already getting ready, man. And that was our tailgating, just living right in close to the stadium, man. It was just every Sunday was so fun because the parking would be hectic. You'd have people parking along these little project houses, no places they would never park in a million years. But just to go to a Bronco game, then why not? We'll park there.
You can't tell me not. There's a different atmosphere when you go down and watch those Broncos games.
Oh,
they have an atmosphere down there.
Yeah.
These fans here love their Broncos.
I love it, man. And all my people out there in Sun Valley love their Broncos probably more than anybody. Shout out to Sun Valley Projects.
Oh, seriously. So we're going to be taking this a little towards the West Coast. So HBO released the trailer of Hard Knocks before it even debuted. So I don't know if you know, but Hard Knocks is going to be having both LA teams, the Rams and as well as the Chargers. This is going to be very interesting.
I'm in favor for the Chargers, not really the Rams.
I'm very in favor for the Chargers, honestly. The Rams, honestly, it just feels like a burning building that is yet to collapse, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And I think, do you think the producers of Hard Knocks are seeing that? They're like, yo, why not? Let's document this.
Let's document this burning building.
You know, let's get this documented. And I honestly think, you know, we might not like the Rams, but it is actually good reality TV because, 2-3 years, Jared Goff was a stud rookie. Now, we fast forward a little bit,
there's question marks on it.
He's question marks. He's been to a Super Bowl, but there's still, is he I wouldn't say elite quarterback, but is he, you know, is he a franchise quarterback? Is he a guy you invest your money in? And I honestly think there's a difference between elite and franchise quarterback. I think elite is.
You got to know that the only reason, my bad to switch train of thought, but I feel like the only reason why they did this is there's new stadiums out there. They can bring more money to the stadium. There's just I couldn't see any other team that could really be on Hard Knocks this year. Remember a couple of years ago when it was the Browns? That one was interesting. Or the Buccaneers.
Very interesting. That was actually one of my favorite ones, to be honest, because they were so terrible going into that year.
They brought Baker Mayfield in to tell him that he was a second-string quarterback to Tyrod Taylor. Hugh Jackson did that. Like, wow. And Hugh Jackson later said he regretted doing so.
Honestly, I don't really see a bad idea into it. Tyrod Taylor was, I want to say, a great quarterback. He wasn't better than Baker Mayfield. But at the same time, when you're 0-whatever for the last 2 years, what do you really have to lose? Throw the rookie out there. What are you doing?
And they threw the rookie out there, and he won them their first game.
You know?
And they were able to open up those cases. Finally, those Cleveland fans can drink their Bud Light.
Man, that was like a funny era in sports. The Browns.
They had whole coolers locked up full of Bud Light covered in Cleveland Browns things.
That's
insane.
The longest droughts in sports history. Longest championship droughts. Longest drought without winning a football game.
You know what's crazy? They don't even have the longest team to not be to the playoffs. The longest drought for a team not to be to the playoffs is actually the Buccaneers. And the last time they went was in 2003. But we are going to be right back here on Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, From getting all this great experience working in college radio, it makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
So I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again, but I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com, so I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Upham Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
Welcome back to Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy, a part of the GoMileHigh.com and a part of the Be On Air Network. You can find us and give us a like on Facebook at GoMileHigh, or you can find us on the internet at GoMileHigh.com, or give us a like and tell us how we're doing at GoMileHigh on Twitter, or you can give us a call at 303-937-6548. If you have something to say about what we say, or if we say something outlandish, you can call and report it. Or you can find me at Jake_Shadler on Twitter, or you can find my man Amato_is_ballin at Twitter. So I'm going to send this segment off onto my man Staxxx, because Staxxx had a little bit of a segment here that he wanted to get into at the end of segment 2, but we didn't get to touch it, so he wants to get a little bit into it. So I want to send it right off to you.
Yeah, we didn't get into it. We had a little bit too much content, too much smoke for you, Jacob.
Yeah, a little too much smoke.
And it's really concerning surrounding my prediction of what the rotation will be, and I think this would be something we can look back on here in a week or so, something fun like that. But I got a real quick question of debate now. I want to know what side you're leaning towards. Now, who you starting? Torrey Craig or Gary Harris?
I was very high on Gary Harris before the draft out of Michigan State, and I want to say that I still am, but I really feel like Torrey Craig gives the Nuggets really what they need more than Gary Harris. Torrey Craig still is very inconsistent with his three-point shooting, but I have to say
Craig is not there for three-point shooting. Gary Harris, I wouldn't necessarily is, but when he's shown that in his arsenal before, you kind of want that from him. And when he's not giving it to you, only giving defense, then you might as well just put Torrey Craig out there, because Torrey Craig plays a little bit more better defense than Gary Harris. I'm not saying.
And he's a more reliable scorer too. More than Gary Harris, I have to say.
Well, more than what you expect from Gary, because Gary still averages 10 points. Torrey Craig, you don't expect to score the ball. So, when he is scoring, he does seem like, maybe a reliable scoring option. But he only averages about 5 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Malone loves Torrey Craig, the guy who, when he made his Nuggets debut, Mike Malone, no one could explain any better. He was on planes, trains, and automobiles. He was playing for a D-League team the night before, had to get on a train I think showed up in Denver like 3 or 4 in the morning, not a train, a plane. Had to get on a plane. And had showed up in Denver 3, 4 in the morning, played the game that night, and had the defensive stop that sealed the game. So it just goes to show what Torrey Craig does, can do. It's the little things. It's the defensive things. He's what you'd call your Jordan stopper. Now he would, I don't think, ever have a shot like that at stopping Jordan or your LeBron stopper for nowadays.
Your LeBron stopper.
A better term, a term for this generation, I guess. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Craig, man, and to go with a little bit more of these rotations. Now I know you want to see Bobo play. I know you do.
I want to see Bobo.
I
and
think
PJ
everyone
play.
does, but I'm not in. I think in an idealistic situation, Bobo playing this year just was not gonna happen, especially after that injury in Oregon last year, and a running trend of in the NBA as of lately redshirting your guy. You see the Sixers doing it, the Nuggets have done it with MPJ.
The Utah Jazz did it.
Yeah. So here I got at the 4, Millsap at the 4.
Okay.
And Millsap, he's been playing a lot of the 4.
We already all know
the
who's
year.
at the 5. 5's already locked down.
That's Jokic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I had it my way, if I was, I'm putting him at the 1.
You're putting him at the 1.
No, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Jokic. I mean, they've tried that experiment before him and Nurkic. Jokic playing with another traditional big don't work.
No, it
and then when you got a big like Plumlee who is a rim runner, then yeah, it seems to work, but it's still kind of like it still seems cluttered because you have 2 7-footers on the basketball court, and you can't get as much spacing as you want. I think if you want to,
it feels like that's 76ers offense almost with those 2 bigs at the floor at the same time.
Well, you need to have good spacing. Everyone needs to at least be a shooter. You can't be a liability beyond the arc. I feel, and I think that's the only way that'll work. But I got Jokic at the 5, Millsap at the 4, Barton. Now Barton, who came off the bench last year in playoff time, his plus minus was just so weak, man. I mean, it seemed like every time he came off on the bench, the Nuggets offense went stagnant. They would slow down. So I feel if you just throw Barton in there with the starting unit, which is kind of contradictory to what I'm saying, but
really you have Barton.
But if you look at it through these
Not
lenses,
you don't have Jeremy Grant?
No, and then this is why I'm getting to that, because why Barton came with that second unit, and that second unit lost energy. Jeremy Grant brings that energy.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
And you need that energy with your second unit. So I think Will Barton, he has energy, but it's not that kind of where it's going to lift you.
He can shoot the 3, I will admit, but it's inconsistent.
And he can play some good defense, too, until you get him in the interior. As I said, Torrey Craig at the 2. I honestly would reverse it. I'd put Torrey Craig at the 3, Barton at the 2, because it's called a shooting guard. Will Barton's a better shooting guard or better shooter than Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig, he is the exact opposite of a shooting guard. He's more of a 3, I see.
So you want Gary Harris in rotation on the 2 and the 3? Then you want him to rotate with?
I want Gary Harris in rotation at the 2, maybe in rotation at the 3. Let me throw you in Murray. I'll throw in Murray, of course, because he's gonna make the starting. Now let's get back to the backups. So as you said, Gary Harris, I would have rotating at 2 and 3 because you're gonna be giving some minutes to Michael Porter Jr. at that 3 spot.
And Bol, hopefully.
No minutes to Bol.
We gotta have at least somewhat of a Bol sighting.
In the scrimmage, I really honestly think they would play.
They're gonna play him tomorrow. Like there's no doubt about it.
It's a scrimmage. Yeah, they're gonna play. They're let him get his experience, and he'll probably get the most minutes out of everyone on the floor tomorrow.
Well, they were practicing him. They were, yeah.
Yeah, they're getting him. It's fun because he's getting around the team. He's getting that chemistry around with these guys. That's the most important part, is chemistry with your teammates, man. And he's not playing, so he's lacking a lot of that. But if he can, with this bubble, I think this bubble is going to benefit Bobo tremendously.
People can say what they want to say about the Nuggets, but we develop players really well. The Nuggets develop players really well.
Yeah, I think the only thing that the Nuggets lack is being able to attract the big name free agent. The Nuggets are one of those markets where if you're going to build a team, you're going to have to build it through the draft. You're going to have good general management. You can't.
But the Nuggets always do a great job of
always.
I mean,
but that's the only thing you can depend, because that's the only way you're going to build a great team. You're not going to build it through free agency.
Yeah,
there's
no
not a lot
marquee
of
free agents
people
are going to want to
who
come to
have
Denver.
Denver as their number 1 go-to spot.
J.R. Smith, maybe.
No. Melo wanted to leave Denver. He came out and said that a Rocky Mountain skyline has nothing on a Manhattan skyline. Like,
see, the only reason I said JR is because he's coming here for other reasons than basketball.
Oh yeah, JR. That's the homie, man. I love JR. JR Swish. Some great moments when he was here.
Off the Henny. Anything is possible.
Yeah, Plumlee at the 5, and I'm putting Jeremy Grant at the 4. And Jeremy Grant maybe a little undersized at 6'9".
I don't like you putting Jeremy Grant in the rotation at at 4 though. I think you should put him at the 3. I like Jeremy Grant starting.
At the 3?
Yeah.
No. Just you need that energy, man, where you're going to have Will Barton try to carry energy. We saw him last year when he got on with the second unit, the energy was drained. Will Barton, you have him with the first unit because he's not going to be the focal point of where the energy's coming from. You can't have him being the number 1 option, I think, at any point of the game because Will Barton has a big ego, if you're not aware of. This guy thinks he's a superstar. So when you throw him out there at the second unit, he's going to be thinking he's the best player with that second unit. You're going to catch him in a lot of isolation basketball, and it's going to be a lot of very low IQ shots. And Will Barton's a phenomenal player, but as I said, that big ego gets to you, man. And if he could, develop more of that facilitator mindset, because he's a phenomenal playmaker, but if he could develop more of a mindset where he can be a facilitator, then, I have no problem with him coming off the bench, but I'm taking Jeremy Grant over coming off the bench over Will Barton. It kind of sounds weird because you're rewarding someone that 6-man position.
So who do we have as the Nuggets' big 3? Like as the Nuggets' third
right
guy?
Now? That's hard. But I go Jokic, Murray, and Millsap. People forget Paul Millsap is the veteran of this team.
Oh, he is.
When Paul Millsap is not on the floor.
When he used to play for Utah, he was phenomenal.
When he played with Atlanta, he was dominant.
Kyle Culver and him.
Paul Millsap has a plus 10 plus minus when he's on the floor. When he's not on the floor, the Nuggets are -3. So Paul Millsap, as much as Jokic is great on the floor as what he does for the Nuggets, Paul Millsap is just as valuable.
And he played phenomenal for the Nuggets last year in that Spurs series and as well as in that Trailblazer series. He played phenomenal for the Nuggets. We all know what Joker did, but Paul Millsap was another driving force on those teams.
And Millsap, he as I said, brings that veteran mindset, man. And that's what you need if you're a young team, because the new kids on the block could just go only so far. You need that guy who can bring everyone together, bring you back to reality, and have you be aware of who you are.
It's very true. We're all very excited about the Nuggets game going on tomorrow. We're all very excited. I'm pretty sure even if you're not a Nuggets fan or even if you're not a fan of sports, just seeing some type of something on football that's live, it just feels good. But that's going to do it for tonight's show with Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy. Catch us tomorrow as we talk a little bit of John Elway talk, and as well as we have a little bit of Evergreen Wednesday. Again, this is Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy, a part of the Go Mile High Network. Have a good night, Colorado.